So you've decided to become vegan or plant-based or whatever it is you want to call it, and you're about to start telling people in social settings. Or they already know about it and this is your first time getting together for an actual meal. Or you've been eating this way for years and you're just kind of sick and tired of all the nonsense you have to deal with it and you need some tips. However you want to slice it, this video is going to show you how to eat plant-based or vegan amongst carnivores. And stick around to the end because I'm going to give you all the answers for all the questions you're going to be asked at some point. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jeremy, and my channel is based around vegan, plant-based stuff. There's recipes, advice, lots of things. So if you want more like this, hit that subscribe and like button, and let me know in the comments if any of this is helpful or any other things you'd like to see me make videos about. Enough about that though, you came here for advice, so let's get to it. Look, your family and friends love you. I hope. And if not, I mean, that's a thing too. You probably still have to deal with them. But the reality is, most of them are ignorant as all hell when it comes to health. They know what they know, and they're happy. The worst thing you can do is just show up and be all high and mighty and start preaching shit to them when they don't want to hear it. If you turn this into a you versus them thing, both of you lose, and it's ugly and mean and gross, and that is the worst way to eat plant-based or vegan amongst meat eaters. You have to keep in mind that so many traditions that family and friends have center around food. That food that your grandparents made you, that maybe your parents still make you, or your grandparents still make you. There's an emotional connection to that for them. And it can be heartbreaking for them to learn that you don't want to eat it with them anymore. It's hard not to take that personally. They could be insulted and not understand why you can't just make an exception for one time. They don't realize that for a lot of people, eating plant-based or vegan is an all or nothing thing. It's like you don't ever want to eat that way. It's not just about their particular food. They don't get that. And here's the thing, it's bad enough for them that you don't want to eat the food. You can't make them feel bad about eating it. If you don't want to eat it, that's great, but you do you and let them do them. Just be humble and silent, shut the hell up, enjoy the meal, and enjoy the company. If the food thing is a really huge issue, maybe try to come up with some family traditions that aren't based around the dinner table and food. Go for a big family walk, play games, whatever it is, whatever your family is into, focus on that and just try to diminish the focus on food. Seriously, family is about spending time together. It doesn't have to be about food. If the conversation isn't going positive, shift it to something that can be. People love to talk about themselves. If you think they're just asking you questions to build a case against you, just change the conversation, make it about them. Ask them what's going on in their lives. If your family or friends are generally curious about what you've been up to and how you're eating, let them ask questions. It's the best way to educate them and to share your opinions and thoughts and why you're doing this. Sometimes it's a mixture of both being curious and concerned, but realize they're asking because they care about you. It's a good thing that they give a shit, but you have to know the answers or you're gonna come off like an idiot who made a choice half-baked. I mean, hopefully you've done some research and you've gone vegan or plant-based or whatever for a reason, but if you don't have all the answers, later on in the video, I'm going to give you a primer for most of the questions you're going to get asked, especially if you're new to this, and some of the answers that you can give. This is a big one that my wife and I just finally had to accept. Your aunt or uncle or cousin or best friend or whoever is going to try to make something for you because they want to help out. They're gonna f it up. They're not going to mean to. It's just, people get confused when it comes to plant-based and vegan, and they forget that animal products are animal products. Seriously, the number of times I get asked if I could eat eggs or dairy or cheese or whatever is kind of crazy. Animal products are so ingrained to people's minds, they often don't realize that the byproducts from animals are animal products as well. And so the best way for you to avoid eating only side dishes is just to bring your own main. And keep in mind, if they're making side dishes, they're often cooked in butter and things that you might not want. So you gotta ask questions about that, or just ask if they can avoid that. Bring enough food for all your courses, an app, a main, a dessert, and enjoy it in silence. Don't make a big deal about it. They're probably already judging you a little bit about your choices, so you don't need to make a spectacle about your meal and how awesome it is. That said, bring way more food than you yourself need, because sometimes people want to try it. Hopefully your family is awesome and curious and supportive and wants to eat the food that you're eating and see what you're up to. Just make sure it's awesome, because then that's going to encourage them to maybe want to eat this way a little bit too. Worst case scenario, they don't want to try any, and then you got leftovers. It's a win-win. And if there's a favorite meal that you love from a plant-based holiday back when you used to eat meat, make a version of that that's plant-based or vegan. I promise you, some food nerd on the internet has made a version that you can just Google. I'm a food nerd, maybe I made that version. Go to my website, pbwithj.ca, because I've got a lot of foods that work for holiday dishes on there, including a bunch I made just for this upcoming Christmas season. And I will post some links in the description down below. Look, it's the holidays, and I don't know where you're at on your journey. If you're new to this, if you're just trying it out, cheat a little if you want to.
Vegan police! Vegan police!
There's no vegan police or plant-based police that's gonna bang down your door and rip something out of your hands if you want to try something or return to your old roots for a dish or two. It doesn't mean you have to live there, you're just visiting. It's okay. You do you. But do it because you want to and not because someone's pressuring you into doing it. A few meals here and there are not going to derail you. You just get back on course the next day or the next meal. That said, if it's been a while since you've eaten any animal products, be careful and go slow. I had a situation where about 6 months after I went plant-based, I had a cookie with butter in it. I didn't realize it. Let's just say that cookie didn't stay in my system for very long. And if someone makes something that has beef broth in it, I know within half an hour. And that's enough about that. As promised, here's your family and friend Q&A primer. Where do you get your protein, calcium, or whatever nutrient? Suddenly all of your family and friends are going to think they have a degree in nutrition for some reason. Someone in your life will ask you this question and you need to have some kind of an answer for it. So how do you answer this? I mean, you can be a smart ass, and if someone asks you where do you get your protein, you can say, I don't know, where do you get your fiber? Because fiber doesn't exist in any animal product at all. And most people don't get enough of it. But the real answer for whatever question they're asking about nutrients is, I get it from the food I eat. Seriously, all the nutrients you need are in plant food. Sure, some have more protein like beans and tofu and whatnot, but all vegetables and fruits have protein as well, and often in really large doses. One of your smarter relatives might point out the fact that you need to take a B12 supplement. Yeah, they're probably right, but you know what? Most people, including meat eaters, are B12 deficient. Ask them when the last time they got their B12 tested. I bet you they never have, and I bet you they're also deficient. Human beings need some kind of animal product to survive, don't they? No, they don't. As I just mentioned, there's no magical ingredient that plant eaters don't get from a wide variety of the foods that they can eat. B12 being the one exception, but like I mentioned, most meat eaters are also B12 deficient, and they get it from eating animals. What's the difference? You still have to eat something to get it. Who cares? So what are you actually allowed to eat? So many things. Seriously, if you want here, you can list some of the meals you eat, but maybe just tell them that you don't focus anymore on the things that you can't eat, but you really embrace and enjoy the things that you can eat. They're gonna say things like, bacon's delicious, cheese is amazing, I could never give those things up. And just smile and nod and be like, I totally get that. But the food I dig is delicious and awesome too. Just make sure that you walk away with them realizing that you're not punishing yourself for eating the way that you do. But humans have always eaten meat. It's natural. I mean, sure, if you're gonna go back and talk about all the things human beings used to do because it was natural, we're gonna have to go through a whole lot of uncomfortable and weird things that this species has done over the years. A lot of things that history no longer looks fondly upon. And I'm not trying to compare eating meat and veganism to a lot of these terrible things, but I'm just saying the human species evolves over time, right? I mean, you also didn't ride a horse and a wagon to get to where your family are, right? The truth is, we just no longer need to eat animals to survive in the world that we currently live in. That's just a fact. There's a lot of people alive now that grew up in a time when people smoked all the time and thought that was natural too. That's f***ed up. And we've come a long way since then. High five, human race. It's too expensive to be vegan. Rice and beans are the cheapest foods on the planet. In fact, the poorest people in the world pretty much eat a plant-based diet with just a little bit of meat for celebratory things. The Paleolithic diet, for which the Paleo diet is named, were not primarily meat eaters. They didn't have a non-stop meat source like people have today. They ate it sparingly and in small doses. Most of their diet was actually plant food because it was surrounded by them in abundance, and it had that added benefit of not having to chase it down and stab it to death. That's, hard to do sometimes. Animals don't like to be stabbed to death, generally speaking. I can't stop eating animal products. I would miss whatever I love too much. This one, just smile and nod through. Tell them you get it. You thought you wouldn't be able to eat this way too. But now you do, and you have all these other substitutes that you love. The world is full of pretty decent meat and cheese and whatever it is you want to eat substitutes. Take this as an opportunity to educate them, or just smile, nod, and shut up and leave it be. Teach them a little if they're interested, but not in a nasty way. But don't animals kill other animals? Yeah, they do. And they do other really unspeakable things to each other too. But it's important to know that those animals that do that are carnivorous. Human beings are omnivores. We don't have the same digestive systems or biology as those animals that commit murder on the reg. Different species require different things to survive, and some of the biggest, strongest animals on the planet don't eat other animals. I'm looking at you, horses, and elephants, and gorillas, and rhinos. Don't you know that plants have feelings too? With what central nervous system do plants have feelings? Just because they're alive and can react to stimulants doesn't mean there's much else going on inside there. Stab a plant. Listen closely to see if you can hear anything going on. Now stab an animal. You'll get a much different reaction. Don't actually stab animals. I'm not advocating for you to stab animals. Please don't do that. Seriously, I'm just trying to illustrate a point. Animals feel things. Plants do not feel things. If a meat eater ever throws this kind of bullshit at you, ask them if they'd rather take their kids to go apple picking or to a slaughterhouse to stab an animal. Which family outing would they prefer? And if they pick the slaughterhouse, more power to them. Depending on where you live, this answer might change, but I don't know if your family and friends have noticed, but every single fast food chain on the planet these days has a plant-based option because they realize there's money to be made from it because there's a lot of people doing it. It's actually really, really easy to eat this way, and it's getting easier all the time. All you have to do is do a little bit of research into where you're going, what they have, and what kind of things you might be able to swap and substitute. It's actually not that hard. Getting together with family and friends, whether it's the holidays or not, can be a stressful time. A lot of families have these weird unspoken competitions going on that result in passive aggressiveness, and food just adds fuel to the fire. So just make the decision to keep it positive and not to let anyone antagonize you. Engage in conversation when people are genuinely curious about it, but avoid it and change the conversation if you feel like they're starting to attack you. Do not preach to your family about how your lifestyle is better than theirs. They don't want to hear it. Unless they do, in which case, great. Now you can have a real conversation. And look, your aunt or friend, whoever, is probably going to tell you all about this documentary or book or podcast that you read 3 years ago. Let them do it. It means they care about you and they're excited and they want to engage somehow. If you have the right attitude, you're going to realize that really all it's about is how to enjoy being around other people. Enjoy being around your family and friends, even if they drive you a little crazy. It's part of the challenge of life. And you might be surprised how you rub off on them a little bit. Seriously, not many days go by where I don't have a family or friend sending me a message asking me some advice on how to do this or that or eat a little bit healthier. You'd be surprised how over time that starts to happen. The main thing is, stay positive and enjoy your time with them. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment below and let me know if you have any tips about eating plant-based or vegan amongst meat eaters as well. Like the video if you liked it, and if you want some more advice that you can send to other people or for yourself about how to eat plant-based or vegan as a beginner, check out this video right here. Thanks!